6.35 miles, 8 minutes 29 seconds per mile today. Running some recovery miles from the race yesterday, the Chicago half marathon. I had to run home from work because my wife's out of town, and when she is, I can only basically commute home because that's when the girls have daycare. The medal from yesterday's race is gigantic. I've been seeing pictures all around Instagram of people comparing it to the size of their face. I have a big head, so it's not quite as big as my face, but this medal is gigantic. And you might think that this is the biggest medal that you've ever seen. But 2 years ago when I ran this race, they gave me this giant thing, which is about as tall and a lot wider than this medal. Plus, it does this. I remember this thing being so ridiculous when I ran it. When I ran this event in 2016, my running buddy and I ran it then, and we ran it at 1 hour and 50 minutes, and we felt like we were flying. This year, we ran it at 1 hour 36 minutes. I came at 1 hour 36. I think he came here and slightly behind me. I think definitely still in the 1 hour 36 range, which was a PR for him, and only off my PR by like about 1.5 minutes. So a really solid showing. Both of us felt really good on this particular day. I took a look at some of the splits that we had. I'd originally thought that we only that our two fastest miles were mile 12 and 13, but it turns out miles 11, 12, and 13 were our three fastest mile, with mile 11 at 7:17. Let me check the numbers just to be sure. Mile 11 at 7:17, mile 12 at 7:06, and mile 13 at 6:37. So we ran a crazy fast 13th mile. We were definitely cooking. The weather was perfect for it. We had ideal conditions for the day, and we were feeling really good. The race overall went off really well. There were a ton of mosquitoes at the beginning, and they were hungry. I don't know if they were sensing like the end of the season. It was like the final feeding. It was so uncomfortable that I just wanted the race to start so that way we could get away from all the bugs. If you look at my back right now, it just looks like an allergy test when they do all the skin pricks to see what you react to. I just have bumps all over the place, and I spent all last night just scratching everywhere because the bug bites are crazy. Once the race started, our strategy was to try and hit 140. My buddy was trying to get a better time to make sure that we were starting in the same wave for the Indianapolis Marathon that we'll be running together in November. And so we were thinking, we'll shoot for 140. That should be good enough for that event. And it would also be a PR for him if he hit that as well. But for me, the main thing that I wanted to be able to do was show some restraint at the beginning of a race. I always go out too fast. I always burn out, and it always bites me in the butt. At the race, what I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that I was able to be restrained. And in the beginning of the race, it was tough because we lined up in Corral B, and we kind of stayed towards the back of Corral B because we felt like there were a lot of faster runners in front of us. And so we kind of let everyone go. And in the beginning of the race, when you're in that huge crowd, it's hard for me to gauge anyway if I'm running an 8-minute mile or if I'm running a 6.5-minute mile. It all just kind of feels the same. And so I was just constantly staring at my watch because there wasn't an hour and 40-minute pace group. There was an hour and 45-minute pace group and an hour and 30-minute pace group, but nothing in the middle. So we were kind of on our own and just trying to figure out what we're running and trying to figure out who in the group is trying to run the same pace as us. And never was anyone with us or running the same pace as us for very long, for the first 3 miles. And so at the beginning of this race, you run through a lot of the neighborhoods in the area before you get out to Lakeshore Drive, and it's just a big open expanse of highway. But in that period, it was just really hard for us to kind of gauge how fast we were running. So we were constantly usually we were a little bit ahead of our goal pace that time, and we were just trying to just sit back, let people pass us, because people were just constantly passing us, and it was a little bit discouraging. But thinking that we're going to stick to this plan at least for the first 8 miles, because the turn comes at about 8 miles. At least for that turn, we were going to just try to sit back and relax. And eventually we did. Once we got into the highway, we found a couple of people here and there that were, for a little bit longer period of time anyway, running the paces that we were. We were shooting for about like 7 minutes, 40 seconds per mile. So we found some people that were there that we could kind of like get in a rhythm with. But then again, they would either drop off or go faster. And then things started to space out in the race. And we were just we just had to figure out our own thing and, figure out a pace that we could run at for the rest of the time. And we did that, and we kept going up. You hit an overpass and you come back down for the race. And at that point, we were feeling really good. And usually by that point in the race, I'm starting to feel a little bit, it's not sunburnt, but like sun-soaked. And I'm feeling a little bit tired and wondering where the finish is. But we were feeling really good. I didn't feel that way at all. And so we kept going. And I was thinking in my mind, if my running buddy had it in him, at about the 5K mark, I would slowly start picking up the pace without letting him know. And then at about like the 11-mile mark, we would really start turning it on. He kept up with me as I started pulling forward a little bit at the mile 10 marker. And then at the around 10 and a half or 11, somewhere around there, I think there was an aid station where before that we had eaten our last gel and gotten a last little sip of water. And I told him we're going to start trying to pick off some runners as we go. And so he was like, I'll do whatever you're doing, just you go and I'll follow you. And so I started picking up the pace, not like super abruptly, but from that aid station we kept going through, and I would just focus in on like one runner at a time using my Chicago Lakefront Path secret racing skills. I would just kind of pick one runner ahead of me and focus on that person and gradually just closing the distance. And as soon as we got close, I'd find another person ahead, and we'd keep gradually closing the distance, and we were able to do that. And that got us in until we got to that final point where you make the big turn and there's another big crowd again and everyone's cheering and it feels good and you're just hyped up, and it's wall-to-wall people all the way down until you get to the finish line. And then at that point, once you hit that turn, adrenaline just kicks in, and that's all you need to finish strong. So we felt really good on the race, and definitely had a great time running. We had a great experience, a great result. Very happy with that. Saw a lot of people. A lot of the usual suspects were there this race. Jamie Hirschfang was there. Christian, and I can never pronounce his last name, was there too. He was running with the elites. ACP Loves to Run was there. She had a really good day. I think she had like a 6 or 7 minute PR running with the elites on that day too. So she was looking real strong. Also ran with Charles Gonzalez for a little bit. So that was a fun thing to do as well, though. That guy runs like every single race in Chicago. If you're at a race, he's also there because he just races everything. Amazing. But a really fun time. A lot of good people at that race. And I think I've been physically ready to taper now, but now I'm mentally ready to taper. I think I'm going to adjust my time goals. I had kind of like a safety goal and a reach goal, thinking of it like college applications. I think I'm going to tweak those down a little bit, or up, however you want to think of it. The time, I think I'm going to go down, but the ambition is up. I don't know. So I'll be thinking about that a little bit more in the next coming days. But yeah, ready for taper, ready to get into it. It wasn't the best race I've ever run. I've run faster. But it was exactly the race that I needed to have happen today. Mentally confident going into the taper. Now I feel like kind of doesn't matter what I do in the taper. I'll be fine. I'll figure something out, and I'll get to the start line just fine. And I'm ready. I'm ready, feeling good. So those are my thoughts on the Chicago Half Marathon 2018. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?